Okay, we all know the Jetsons, right? The fun-loving family of the future. But what if I told you their entire world, the flying cars, Rosie the robot, Orbit City itself, was actually built on a dark, tragic secret? Well, we're about to dive into a wild creative pitch that completely flips everything you thought you knew about this classic cartoon.
So the whole idea behind this hangs on this one, single, absolutely mind-bending question. It tries to connect two things that you would never, ever think to put in the same sentence: the sinking of the Titanic and the world of George Jetson. It sounds crazy, I know, but it is the key that unlocks this entire secret origin story.
So to even begin to understand how this is possible, we have to rewind the clock a lot. This story doesn't start in the future with flying cars. Nope, it starts in the past, with what this pitch calls the anomaly of 1912, the real story of what went down with the RMS Titanic.
And right here is where history gets a major rewrite. In this version of events, there's no iceberg. Forget what you saw in the movie. Instead, this massive, shimmering bubble just rises up from the deep and touches the ship. There's no crash, no loud bang. The steel hull just silently dissolves. Poof! Like it was never even there. This is the moment the whole conspiracy is born. The captain sees something completely impossible, and he has to make a choice. To stop the entire world from panicking, he gives a fateful order: invent a story that people can actually understand. And just like that, the truth is buried at sea, and the official story becomes an iceberg. So, with that dark mystery hanging in the air, the pitch just completely slams on the brakes and changes gears. We flash forward centuries into this bright, bubbly, colorful future. Get ready for Aqua, New York, the underwater city that's home to a very familiar-looking family. See, this is the show the pitch wants you to think you're watching. It's a fun little comedy about the Aquajet family. Everything is light, the adventures are goofy, even the theme song sounds just like the one you know, but maybe with some bubble sounds. The whole point is to get you comfortable, to make you forget all about that dark, secret sinking we just saw. But just as you start to settle in and enjoy the underwater shenanigans, the past starts to bubble back up to the surface. The story starts weaving in these little, seemingly innocent clues that connect this bright future back to that very dark night in 1912. The first clue comes from Elroy. He's digging through some old stuff and finds a crayon drawing in a lab journal from when he was a little kid. It shows this giant bubble hitting a stick figure ship. He just kind of laughs it off, as a silly kid's fantasy, but for us, the audience, it's pretty chilling foreshadowing. Then there's George. He finds this old, barnacle-covered plate in a scrapyard and thinks, hey, cool coaster. He has no idea what it is, but we can see it clear as day, the logo of the White Star Line, the company that owned the Titanic. A literal piece of the disaster is just sitting on their coffee table, hiding in plain sight. And then this eccentric old historian shows up, going on and on about a great cover-up and some kind of phantom weapon. Of course, everybody just writes him off as a total conspiracy nut, but he's the only one who has any idea that their whole world is built on a historical lie. So you have the drawing, you have the plate, the historian's warnings, all of these little threads are building towards one single critical moment. A moment where the past and future don't just whisper to each other anymore. They collide. The big turning point happens during, of all things, an Elroy's school project. He's doing this deep sea scan, and he detects this massive energy spike echoing from the past. And then his blood runs cold. He recognizes the frequency. It's the exact same signature from his childhood time bubble experiment, the one from the crayon drawing. This sends him down a rabbit hole, and he hacks into a declassified U.S. Navy file from 1946 called Project Titanic Retribution. And in that one moment, the absolute horror of this situation crashes down on him. The U.S. government thought the Titanic was destroyed by an enemy attack, and for more than a century, they've been waiting to strike back. So this timeline just lays out the whole cosmic, tragic misunderstanding. Back in 1912, a 5-year-old Elroy's science fair project accidentally travels back through time and sinks the Titanic. In 1946, the Navy, thinking it's a new kind of weapon, starts a secret project to retaliate. And now, in the future, Elroy's innocent school project has just acted like a giant flare, telling that ancient weapon exactly where they are. So what is this weapon?
It's Project Titanic Retribution, a doomsday device literally forged by a version of history that never even happened. And it's been waiting for a target for over 100 years.
Now, this is where it gets really clever. It's a brilliant sci-fi twist on real history. You see, the famous Baker nuclear test at Bikini Atoll? In this story, that wasn't just a test. It was the launch of an anti-chrono energy wave, a weapon specifically designed to travel through time and zero in on the energy signature of Elroy's bubble. And the result is, well, it's a cataclysm. The bomb goes off in the past, but the wave arrives in their future. It hits Aqua, New York, and the whole city just starts to fall apart on a molecular level. It's this massive resonance blast that literally tears their home from the seabed and flings the entire thing into space. But out of this absolute, world-ending catastrophe comes something unexpected. This isn't the end of their story. It's the violent, tragic birth of Orbit City. It's the beginning of the Jetsons. And here's the transformation. The vibrant, wet, colorful world of Aqua, New York is just gone. And in its place is the sleek, sterile, dry architecture of Orbit City. Their home, which was doomed by a childhood mistake in the past, is now reborn from that tragedy, floating high above the earth. Everything has changed. And you can leave it to Rosie the robot to sum up the entire shocking, world-shattering event with her perfect, deadpan wit. As the family wakes up in this strange new sky home, her line is just the perfect, darkly funny bridge between the world they lost and the one they've been thrown into.
But beyond all this sci-fi spectacle, this is really a family tragedy. See, George isn't confused. He gets it. He understands that his own son's innocent experiment is the reason their home, their friends, their entire world was destroyed. And that single tear, floating away in zero gravity, man, that tells a story of unbelievable heartbreak. And then you hear it, that iconic ding-dong of the doorbell. A sound that we've always associated with, futuristic fun and comedy. But here, in this context, it's haunting. It's the sound that signals the end of their old life and the forced beginning of a new, unwanted one. So the pitch leaves us with this one last, really provocative question. We've always thought of the Jetsons as this light, fluffy comedy. But if you know their world was born from a tragic misunderstanding that literally destroyed their home, does that tragic past change their comedic future forever? It's a pretty fascinating thought to end on, isn't it?